Our video today is on working with mixed numbers. When working with mixed numbers, it's best to begin by changing them into an improper fraction first, because remember that we'll need to do this if we are wanting to add or subtract fractions, because we'll need to change them to have a common denominator. Our first example is of two mixed numbers adding them together. So remember, our first step is to change them into an improper fraction. Remember, we do that by starting at the denominator, timesing it by the number at the top, and then adding on our numerator. So you can see we do 8 times 2 is 16, plus 3 is 19 down here. And here we do 4 times 1 plus 3 is 7, and our denominators stay the same. Our second step here is to change them to have a common denominator. So our lowest common multiple of 8 and 4 is 8, so our 19 stays the same. We had to multiply our 4 by 2 to get to 8 here, so we're doing that the same to the 7, so we end up with 14 over 8. You could have working out that looks like this. If you like, it means exactly the same thing. So our next step, we keep the denominator the same, 8. 19 plus 14 is 33. And then our final step is to simplify. Remember that we do 8 into 33 leaves us with 4, and our new numerator is the remainder. So we're left with 4 and 1/8. Our second example over here is a takeaway. So we do the same first step, changing it into an improper fraction. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 3 is 15. Takeaway, 4 times 1 is 4, plus 3 is 7. Here we have our second step to make a common denominator. The lowest common multiple of 4 and 5 is 20. So we want both of our fractions over 20. So we have 5 times 4 to give us 20. So we want to multiply our 13 by 4 as well. 13 times 4 is 52. We multiplied our 4 by 5. We do the same to the 7. We end up with 35. Next step, keep the denominator the same, 20. 52 minus 35 is 17. And then if you could, you would simplify that one, but this one now is fine, so we just leave that one as it is, 17 over 20. Okay, here we have two more examples. We have a multiplication and a division. So we have to remember that when multiplying or dividing mixed numbers, we don't have to have the common denominator. However, we do still have the same first step, which is changing it into an improper fraction. So we start off the same way that we did in the previous example. 3 times 1 plus 2 gives us 5 over 3, and 10 times 2 plus 7 gives us 27. Our next step here is to simplify before we do the multiplication. So remember, we're simplifying across in that bow tie shape that you've seen in previous videos. So we'll start with the 5 and the 10. So the common factor for 5 and 10, highest common factor is 5. So 5 goes into 5 once and into 10 twice. And now we can look at the other diagonal, 3 and 27. Our highest common factor is 3. So 3 goes into 3 once and into 27 9 times. Remember, when you're multiplying fractions, you multiply the numerators together. So we're going to have 1 times 9 gives us 9. And the denominator, 1 times 2, is 2. So we could stop here. However, to put it in its most simplified form, we change it back into a mixed number. So remember, we do 9 divided by 2 gives us 4. Our remainder goes on the top of the fraction, and the denominator, stays the same. So that's how we got our 4.5. Our example over here with division is the same idea. Change it first into an improper fraction. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 3 is 11. Now remember here, our rule for dividing fractions is stay, change, flip. So remember, we keep our first fraction the same. We change the sign from a division to a multiplication, and we flip our second fraction. So now our equation reads 9/4 times 8/11. We do the same step here, finding highest common factor. So we'll go with the 4 and the 8 first. The highest common factor is 4. So 4 into 4 goes once, and into 8 twice. Now our equation would read 9/1 times 2/11. We multiply our numerators together. 9 times 2 is 18. Then our denominators, 1 times 11 is 11. And then we simplify. 18 divided by 11 goes once, with 7 remainder. So 1 and 7/11.